Hey bonsai peeps, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. So right now I wanted to work on this silver maple. I've got a lot of silver maples. This one, each one I dedicate to one of my kids, and a couple just for myself. This is my son's silver maple, but someday if I can convince him how cool bonsai is, I'll hand this to him. But for now, I'll refer to it as my Gavin silver maple. So I've had this one for about 4 or 5 years from a seedling. As mentioned in previous videos, my last house I lived at had this huge silver maple tree in the backyard, just ginormous. And it would drop seeds every year, and there would be hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny little seedling volunteers sprouting up. So that's when I first learned about bonsai, was messing with those. And a few of them lasted all this time through all my trials and errors and experiences and failures. So this is one of them. Each one I do something a little different with too. This one, my goal was just to have it almost formal upright with a slight slant to it. Although I may take away that slant and just make it formal upright at some point. But otherwise, I'll give you a better look here. So this is kind of a look. So you see it's got some pretty good ramification. The trunk still needs a lot of work, a lot of thickening up. It's been outside here, so I'll get rid of some of these leaves. But today, what I was gonna do is a kind of a routine fall pruning, which always feels counterproductive because it's like, oh, look at all this cool branching that we have going out here, but it still has to be done because ultimately my vision for this tree is to be somewhere closer to this size, somewhere in there. So kind of like, I don't know if that's translating well on camera, but so in other words, it's too big as it is right now. I want it to be more like this. So what that means is, some branches have to be cut. So that's what I'm gonna do now. It could use repotting, but I probably won't, at least not today. It's in this huge pot right now. And so the roots, I'm sure, are a mess. In fact, I know what the roots look like a little bit because this was the very first tree that I ever did a bonsai video on 3 or 4 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. But I made a video on it, never published a video because it's so embarrassingly bad. So I know what the roots look like, but I know that they need work. I just don't know if it's going to be today that I do it. I may wait. So, okay, I'm actually going to walk through it with you now. Got to apologize in advance. I'm a little under the weather this week, today and yesterday, and really all week. So if I sound a little funny or look a little funnier than usual, that's why. So, all right, without further ado, I'll walk you through my thought process as I do these, so that I can keep you at a good angle. First thing I'm going to do is take this one off. That way I'm not stabbing myself in the eye. You'll need your eyes for later use. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to start. Here it goes. I'm going to go above. You can get a good look here. You can see a bud here, a bud there. Also a bud on the back side, and there's one right down here too. So I'm going to go up above two buds. The reason you do that is because if there's dieback, sometimes when you make a cut, the branch will die back. Usually it will stop at that bud, but occasionally it will go past the first bud. So you want to leave yourself 2 sets of buds just in case dieback would occur, an extreme dieback would occur. So one other thing I'll tell you, you don't want to make a horizontal cut this way, because what can happen is as it rains and as you water the tree, water can get into those cuts in there and start to rot out the wood on the inside. So you always want to make a slant of a cut like this. That's what I'm going to do. Here it goes. There we go. So one down. This branch here has lots of sets of buds. You got 1, 2, and it's real hard to see probably, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so lots. So we're going to take this one back all the way to about here, just like that. And in the interest of also not stabbing myself in the eye, we're gonna stay on this side for now and then we'll work on the other side. This branch, I do see some buds here. Here, very small sets of buds. I can't really even tell how, if they're alive or not. Or, you know, sometimes the buds, the real small ones don't make it, but we're gonna take a risk right now. We're gonna take it back, I'm gonna say to about, probably about here, where I'm thinking for now. That usually I go back a little further than that. In fact, I think I will go a little further than that. I'm going to take it back to about here. Silver maples, by the way, I'll tell you a little bit about them because surprisingly, there's not more videos online about silver maple bonsais. And a lot of people will tell you that they don't make good bonsais, but I actually think that they do, especially if you're a beginner bonsai enthusiast like I was and am still, really. And the reason that I like them is because they're pretty fast growing, relatively fast at least. They can take a lot of abuse, which, you know, intentionally or not intentionally, we inflict some abuse on them when we don't know what we're doing in the beginning. So they can take a lot of that. Some of these, when they get really healthy, I had one like this planted in the ground, about 5 years old, that was in the wrong spot. I cut it in half. I just trunk chopped it. Grew, it kept growing. Did another trunk chop, same year. At the end of that season, chopped it in half again, and it still came back. So these things can be pretty hardy. They do like a lot of water though, so that's something to know about these. People will tell you that they don't make good bonsai, and the reason for that theory is that they have, they're softer wood. Silver maples have much softer wood. So, and that is a valid point. So I don't know how good they make very long term, but short to mid term, yeah, I think that they make good bonsai. So, all right, for this one here, I'm thinking we want to go back. We got a set of buds here. You can see a set of buds there. And even if you don't see buds, chances are it's going to back bud anyway. You have all that energy stored in the roots and in the trunk, so when growing season hits again and it shoots up that energy, if it's got nowhere to go, it's just going to push out new buds where there were none. So not always, I mean, they're living things that kind of have a mind of their own, but generally speaking. I'm kind of wondering if I even want to keep this branch in a way, because you can see the taper as it starts big at the bottom and slowly gets smaller. It comes out here and it's much bigger than this branch. And I really want this branch to be slightly bigger than this. So I'm at a decision point here. I think for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back to right there. Just like that. By the way, you can occasionally make cuttings out of this. You can get them to sprout. I haven't had the best of luck, but I have had some luck. In fact, it was this tree. One year I did a clipping, just stuck it right in that same pot. I don't know why, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it happened. It grew a new tree. So, for what it's worth, you got to time it right. It's got to be the right time of year. Okay, this back branch here, kind of same story. It's really long and leggy. We don't want that. We want it to be a little more compact and have shorter length between the buds. It's called the internode. So you want to have, instead of this much room, you want to have one like this much room. And then eventually you want to work on leaf size reduction, which I can talk about later. It's not at that point yet, but since it's not a subject, I'll tell you. So to get leaf reduction, what you would typically do in the growing season, so you got a leaf right here, you cut it right in the middle of the stem, not all the way back, not all the way top, right in the middle. And then what happens is, again, that energy's got to go somewhere, so it'll sprout out new leaves. What it does is it sprouts out two leaves that are half the size of the first one. So you'll get two of these in exchange for that. So that is how you get leaf reduction. And then if you're really ambitious, you can do it again, and the same thing will happen again. You can only do it so many times in one growing season, but that's how you do it. All right, so where were we? Here, I think we're going to take it back to about here. So I see one set of buds. It's probably hard for you to turn around. So you got a set of buds here. I can see the inner nose, but I don't see any buds. But we're going to take a risk and just go for it right there. Making progress here. This branch coming off of the top. I think we're going to take this back. Let's see. Definitely going to get rid of this. Let me get that out of the way for now. We can take a second look. We're going to take it back to right there. For now. You know, that's something to keep in mind. All right. So I'm going to spin it around now. By the way, this right here, roughly, right about there is the front. Somewhere in this area. I don't know the exact position, kind of hard to tell from that angle, but this is the front more or less. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to spin it around. We're going to look at the back side here. Also, you can see the slant I was referring to much better. We've got some extreme taper here, where it's like we're talking about how this branch is a little too big compared to this one, and especially to this one. This branch here is much too large, so I think we're gonna have to get rid of this whole thing. Well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this incrementally for now. So get rid of that. Another look here. Take this back to 2 buds. This one back to 2 buds. Oh wait, actually I see even more now. And I'll clean up these nubs here in a minute. Let me turn it around for you again. Looks a little goofy and awkward right now, but not sure what I'm going to do with this one here. I'm going to leave it alone for a minute. Like I said, you know, let's come back to it. So now, this guy here coming straight out at us. And then, as you can see, this branch here is growing back inward toward the tree. You don't want it back. You always kind of want it to spread outward. So, I'm going to make a cut now. There. This branch is growing straight up, which I don't necessarily like. So we're going to take it back right to there. Another branch growing inward, which, let's see, take it back to a couple sets of buds. We got 1. I don't really see the 1. I'm fairly confident it went back, but either way, so I'm going to take it back to that one. Right to there. Back to this guy. I think we're going to take this one back to about I think we're going to want to go. I'm going to have to think about this for a minute. Probably going to get rid of this and go back to about there. As for this guy, that's what I was kind of struggling with. I don't know what to do with him yet. I mean, it's not the end of the world either way, but still, you want to think these things through a little bit. I do see some buds right here on the other side. So I'm actually going to take it down to here. Yeah, I feel all right about that. And then stand in the back, I'm deciding what to do here. I don't know if I should leave this or take it down to one node here. I'm actually going to take it. Now, you know what? I'm going to leave this guy here. I know it's the third node, so 1, 2, 3. Typically, you want to take it back to 2, but it's not etched in stone. And I like the direction that it's going. I like the movement there, so we're going to go with that. So now, more decision points here. Got to decide what to do with this guy. I might have to take it back, this whole piece off, and go back to about here to reduce some of the tapering, because the more growth you have on it, the bigger that branch is going to get. And I kind of want it to slow down a little and these ones to catch up. So I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go back to about here. So you can see one bud right there where my middle finger is. Go right there. Go. Okay, looking again at the front. Yeah, I'm thinking that this guy's not gonna stick around. Plus, we've got some kind of some ugly knobs right here from previous cuts. And they do grow over fairly quickly. They do heal. I mean, this is probably 1, maybe 2 years old. This cut right here, it's already starting to grow over. But still, just don't know if that's going to fit what we want. So what we're going to do, maybe we'll just get rid of this piece here and let this guy go. And it's already ugly right there. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, here it goes. Clean that up a little. Here, let me see if I can do this at an angle where you can see what I'm doing. Hope everybody had a good Halloween. I handed out candy this year. My kids are a little too old to trick or treat. So I was handing out candy and it was a good time. Girlfriend came over, she made tacos, brought the pups over. So hope you had a good one as well. All right, so I cleaned this up a little bit. Probably really just added to the ugliness of it overall, but it's going to be slightly less ugly now, I hope. It was until I just did that, and I botched that piece. See if I can correct it. So what I'm going to do after this, I don't have it right here in front of me. You'll see a lot of people online use cut paste that they put on the cuts on branches. I don't have any cut paste, but I've used, believe it or not, Elmer's glue, and it works. It just seals it off. It's non-toxic, and that's really the goal. Is you just want to seal off the wound so that rot can't get in there, and bugs and disease and everything else. So I'm sure there's somebody out there who's going to hear that and freak out and tell me how wrong I am for doing it. And you know, you might even be right. I don't know. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just telling you that I do it, and it's worked for me. So that's all I can tell you. That being said, I think that's about it. I'm still considering taking this one back a little shorter, and even this one too. I just don't see any other buds. So I do see buds here, and buds on the trunk, although we don't want them that low, so we'll take those off. This is going to be all wave. Take this back just a little shorter. There. This one here. A little shorter as well. I'm really considering getting rid of this, taking it down to just there. No. Definitely gonna get rid of this piece. That. Okay, I guess that about covers it. A couple last things I'll tell you about silver maples. In the growing season, when you make a cut, see if I can find a good example here. When you make a cut and it starts to grow back, what they have a tendency to do is grow, this one I kept pretty clean, but it would typically grow big clusters of buds and leaves and everything. So you make a cut right there, and instead of it being an exact science of 2 leaves coming out, it'll be like 8 leaves coming out. That's when you cut into the wood. Now when you cut the stem, like we talked about right there, that's when 2 leaves will grow. That's the more perfect way to do it. But when you cut into the wood, now at that cut spot, either there or wherever it dies back to, that's where you'll get this big cluster of leaves. So that's something to keep in mind. Other than that, I think that about covers it. I might, just look it over again here for a few, but I won't bore you with those details. I think this more or less embodies what we were going for. So I hope you enjoyed. If you were interested in silver maples, I hope some of this might have helped you in some way. If anybody out there has comments or questions or anything to add about silver maples or silver maple bonsais and your experience, please add it. I love hearing about those things. So if you haven't clicked like and subscribe yet, please do. Always looking for new subscribers. Anyways, hope you all have a great day and a good weekend, and I hope you like this.